All right, here we are kicking off Start Smart Finances podcast, Smart Money Chat. I'm excited for this. I know, I think our listeners will like this because you and I constantly have conversations about money on a week to week basis. I mean, half of our business calls ends up being a debate between you and I. So I think it'll be a good way to include our followers, our listeners into, the way our brains work. So today's topic, home renovations. You've done one, I'm in the middle of doing one. Hot topic on when to use cash, when to use credit cards, finding alternative, more creative ways to earn points, and when you should consider paying that credit card fee. Before we jump in, I think we should take a quick break. Let's give people an understanding of who Start Smart Finance is, why we started this business, and who we are, because they might not know who we are. So I'll kick it over to you, Danny.
All right, sounds good. Hey, everyone. So my name is Danny. I'm one of the co-founders for Start Smart Finance. Anuj and I started this business I want to say about a year and a half ago, where we really just started talking about how can we help the community, right? I mean, this all started when we were at a party and we were the only two in a corner talking about credit cards and finance when everyone else is drinking, having a great old time, talking about God knows what. And then there's us being super philosophical, talking about adult stuff. And one of the things I love about this topic in general, right? It resonates with me because I've done 2 renovations already. I've done for my mom's house. I've done one earlier this year for my brand new house. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, you know what, there's a huge topic here that people don't know about. There's a lot of myths, there's a lot about facts. And it's one of those things where we just need to really address it to everybody out there.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. And the other reason we started Start Smart Finance is, Danny and I are in our 30s. I won't say exactly where in our 30s we are, but there's a lot of things that we've learned over the last 5 to 10 years that we wish we would have known in our early 20s. And that was another reason we did Start Smart Finance, is taking everything we've learned in a day in, day out fashion and helping, people who are just entering the workforce on navigating questions that I wish I would have had mentorship on. I think I would have, I think we would have gotten a little farther ahead.
Yes.
Um, we're doing just fine, and we're here to just help other people navigate budgeting, credit cards. The other thing that Danny and I, talk about a lot is when you're on social media, which I find myself constantly on social media, not just because we're filming our own content, but there's a ton of videos out there about credit cards and platinums and shiny metal cards, and not everybody needs one. So, um, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Anuj. I'm the other co-founder of Start Smart Finance, and I think we tell all of our clients is that Danny is the brains behind the budget. Danny knows everything there is to know about a budget. I've learned a ton from Danny about budgeting, and I probably what I add to this relationship is the credit card side of things. I am a credit card addict. I don't know if that's a thing yet, but I feel like I'm one of them.
A credit card guru. Don't sell yourself short right now. Like,
I mean, when you get a new credit card every so often, you start to wonder whether you're chasing points for a reason or you're just chasing points because it's fun. All right, so today we're talking home renovation. I'm excited about this because I'm in the middle of one, and I've definitely reached out to you for some ideas on navigating the cost of a home renovation because everything is so expensive right now. Um, so you tell me, Danny. I think the first thing we can talk about is cash. When should you even attempt a home renovation?
well, yeah, I mean, definitely, right? I mean, when we talk about home renovations all the time, it's like, people have it for different stages of their lives, right? So some people, I mean, the majority of people do a home renovation right before they move into a house. I knew you've done this. I just did this earlier this year when I moved into my new house. But there's also other times to do it as well, right? So, I mean, my mom's house, I mean, that was my childhood home. Um, we want to refresh, right? I mean, we had the same old carpet from the 90s, the same white paint from the early 2000s. And, it was just time where we are like, hey, you know what? Let's let's spruce it up a little bit, right? Let's change it up. Let's make it look fresh. Let's not make it look old and dingy. So, the different phases of life, different priorities when you want to put that money into a home renovation. For me, for instance, right, earlier this year when we moved into our new house, it just needed that renovation, right? We are the second owners to our house. The people prior to us, original owners, they've had this house for 25 years. It could use a little tender love and care, right? A little TLC goes far. So I mean, and my wife, she is the creative one between the both of us. She knows how to decorate a home. She's done an amazing job for our house. But then there's that topic of budget. Like, how much are we really willing to spend for a home renovation? And we talk about this all the time. Like my wife and I, she's probably sick and tired of me when we talk about the B word. But like every month we have our monthly budget where we say like, hey, how did we do? Or where are we? So when we talk about this, it was just like, ballpark numbers, right? You got to shop around. You got to talk to different contractors, and you got to also look into yourself, right? Like what's worth spending, right? What's a necessity right now? What is a nice to have? For us, necessities were ripping out the carpet. We just had a newborn, so we didn't want any like old dust, or we don't want her to have any allergies to it. Um, Wall paint, I thought that was the cheapest one, so that's like low hanging fruit that we could do. And just really doing that. I mean, that was really our priority. I mean, we want to do the master bath, but we're like, that's going to break the budget a little bit. And it's one of those things where I was like, let's hold off. Let's get the biggest ROI with the wood flooring, the paints and the railings and all that stuff, and then we'll visit the other stuff later.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the word that came to my mind when you talked about budgets and homes was, going house broke. And I know me and you have had this conversation time and time again. I mean, because we've both recently purchased homes in the last few years, and going house broke is the worst thing that you can do financially for yourself. It is, pardon my French, but it's the dumbest decision you can make is going house broke, because you have friends that have big houses and nice houses and they're shiny, and you want to be able to entertain the same way other people entertain, or you want a certain aesthetic. But realistically, like you should never live beyond your means, especially if it comes to a mortgage, because if you don't have the money to put into your emergency fund, you're not going to have that house. Somebody else is going to come along and take it from you. So,
Right? No,
uh,
absolutely. And we see that all the time, right? Like, point being, we have friends who bought a brand new house and it's really nice, right? And you're like, and social media, we go back to this all the time, right? You see all these nice houses, all these what's modern trends for a home. And I could have sworn 5 years ago it was all about the grays. Now it's all about the neutrals. And I'm like,
yes,
I feel like every 5 years I'm gonna renovate the house. And I'm like, no, this is gonna be terrible for us. Like,
we did the same thing. So like we bought our house, and we bought at a time where it probably wasn't the best financial decision, but it's what we needed in our family. So we left I think a 2.9% interest rate in the city, and we were about to have our second kid, and we're like, we have no room. And we knew taking on a 6.5% interest rate was gonna suck, but we budgeted for it. And when we came into this house, it looked like it was from the 70s or 80s, which it was. And we thought, you know what? Bones are great, we'll paint. That's going to be our big thing. We're just going to paint everything. It was like that mustard yellow color that you used to see in like the 80s, 90s. And we're like, let's just paint it white, or like a Swiss coffee, whatever color it was, to refresh it. And that paint went a long way. And we waited probably a couple years to do anything else. And now, we've come to the point where we're like, we spend a lot of time in the basement. Our kids spend a lot of time in the basement. There was this old musty carpet down there. And I mean, you've seen the basement. We wanted to make it a place that was refreshed and you could host without having a worry of like what is underneath this carpet. But with that came cost, right? Like you got to negotiate with contractors. I think I sent you all of the quotes I had.
yeah,
The first quote came in so high. I mean, it was nearly my damn salary. And I'm like, there's no way that I can afford this. And that was
right.
before materials and like finishes and decorations and stuff. And so luckily we kept negotiating over time, and we had to sacrifice certain things, and we put other things on hold. Like we wanted a bathroom, but we're like, you know what? We can't afford a bathroom this year. Let's wait a couple years and we can revisit that. So you have to be okay letting go of some things to get other things, and knowing, not to push yourself beyond your budget. But that brings me to, how do you pay a contractor? Um, That is something that I think, everybody and their business has a 3 or 4% fee because they're getting hit with the fee. And I'm not going to say that, they shouldn't pass it along. Uh, but there's a certain threshold where that 4% fee becomes unbearable.
Yeah.
Um, but I know like I have willingly paid a 4% fee on a hefty bill to get some points. So I want to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you, right? Like and we'll get into this topic about myths a little bit later, but I think the topic of like cash versus credit, right? It's like cash is readily available and contractors love that, right? Because they don't have to pay a fee and you're able to negotiate saying like, hey, with cash, I want you to knock off X amount of dollars. And most of the time they're okay with it because they earn your business, right? And that's what happened to me with my contractor over here. I paid with cash for the labor part of it. I mean, we'll get into the materials part a little bit later, but labor for sure was I spent more cash than anything else. And what you and I talked about with credit cards and everything, and quite frankly, like it amazes me how not everybody has that credit card component to it, right? I mean, there's that 3 to 4% fee. Not everybody has it, and not everybody knows about it, which is a whole different thing. So, I mean, it really comes down to the math, right? Like, how many points is it really worth it, right? So, let's say if you have a $10,000 labor job and you have 4%, that comes out to like a $400 on top of the 10,000 you had to pay. Um, Now, if you put that on a credit card, 1 point per dollar, you get 10,400 points. And, when you convert that, right, depending on your platform, that can transfer over to 1.5 times the points or just a simple 1 to 1. So 10,400 points could equate to $104. It could equate to a a business class ticket. It could also equate to nothing. So it really comes down to like the math, like what, and a lot of strategy behind it, right? It takes a lot of time to plan ahead, which I see a lot of our clients, we help them plan ahead, be like, hey, is there a trip coming up? Is this worth it for you? Can you spend the extra couple $100? So I think that's where it comes down to. It's like, how much are you really willing to stretch your budget? And it comes down to like also like if you're going to put on a credit card, um, how are you going to intelligently like use those points, right? Because I feel like and we had a client where we talked about this where I had to say you hooked them up with this phenomenal ticket, which I'm just like, yeah, no one's gonna find this other than a nooch at this point. Where I was like, we both strategize with them, and then you're like, hey, I found this ticket. It's business class. It works out. You should do it, and it worked out, right? I mean, they had a fun trip. Like I think it was a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband. I forget what they were. I don't know
Something,
what
yeah.
something like that. But they were able to travel business class because of that 4% fee.
Yeah, I think so. The things that came to my mind, which I'm gonna throw in a hot take at the end of my thought because I think it might trigger you a little bit.
Right.
But I agree. I think first and foremost, do you have the funds to be able to afford this home renovation? Two, whether you're paying cash or credit card, can you pay off that credit card bill immediately, right? Like, so you don't get hit with the interest. I think that's another big thing because then you're not
Yeah.
only you're looking at 26% interest until you pay that off, which is, we've seen this. We've had clients spend anywhere from 500 to a $1,200 credit card interest, and it's just money you are giving away for no reason, and you're getting nothing back from it. But three, and this is my hot take, that $10,000 charge. When do you think, or how savvy do you think somebody needs to be able to open a new credit card? Because then it's not a point per dollar, right? Then you're looking at anywhere from 80 to 150,000 points. What's the threshold to do that there? I mean, I know I have done it. I just did it, but again, I am probably more savvy when to open things and how to navigate my credit score, my wife's credit score, and how we team up, right? Because that's another aspect of this credit card world. Once you're married and you have one family budget, you want to make sure you're not just willy-nilly opening credit cards. You want there to be a family strategy so that way you don't have a bunch of points sitting in one account that you can't get to another. So that a hot take. I want your take on when is it okay to open a credit card for a large charge, and who should ideally be doing it?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with getting more points, right? I mean, the only time opening up a new credit card is a bad idea is when you can't manage the credit cards you have right now, right? And we've seen that with our clients where they've maxed out 5, 6 credit cards, and we're just like, and they're like, "Oh, should I get this card?" I'm like, "No, don't ever look at a credit card ever again. Matter of fact, cut it right now." And like, it's like, though, I think those are the topics, right? I mean, like, there are people who are very diligent about how they handle their credit cards, and they're able to pay it off on time, and they're able to track their credit cards. And there's others who are just going after that the chase of points, right?
The
And
high,
yeah,
high.
they just got to get the points, right? They got to be part of the million point club. And it's just like, it's like never used a it's like,
Guilty, guilty.
yeah, it's like yeah, I had to do one of those. I'm like, yes. Same. I'm like, it's just one of those things where it's just like, you got to be, I think strategy wise, it's like you got to be responsible, right?
Yeah.
You can't be irresponsible when you're opening up credit cards. Credit cards are cool. I mean, I've had people who I've talked to where they're just like, oh, it's just cool to put down that flashy credit card. It's like, it's not cool when you're broke, though. It's just like, well, yeah, platinum card is a very sexy card. However, no money is not that sexy either. So, like,
Yeah, I think you raise a good point. So like I know we've done a couple of reels on this, but you know, and I'll throw my basement right now out there. This is not like a flex or anything, but like we really honed in on the budget that we had for this, and the first down payment we made, which we'll ballpark it at like 50,000 or something like that, and the first down payment was I think 20 or 25%. We paid that in a check, right? So I did a check out of my checking. I didn't put it on a credit card or anything crazy like that because I had the cash and I knew that that would be safe, no 4% fee. Second payment, we did cash. And then third payment, the contractor needed a little bit early to pay his guys. And so I messaged him. I was like, look, it'll take me a couple days to transfer money from one account to another. If you waive the 4% fee, I will put it on my credit card. And that was about a $13,000 charge. And he's like, you know what? I got to pay the guys. We're going to a holiday. Sure, go ahead. I will waive the 4% fee. So what did I do? I went to my Built app. I opened it up. I turned on my accelerator and I got 3x the points for that. So I netted nearly 30,000 points and a ton of Built cash that I can then use to turn on another accelerator and do that up to 5 times a year. We had another large charge early in the year that was childcare related, and it was going to be hefty. And I did all the math. I looked at all the cards I had and my wife had, and I'm like, okay, this $8,000 charge for daycare, I can either put it on my Chase and get 1x on it, same with any other Amex or Chase card I have. I can put it on my United card and get some miles out of it since I'm a United loyalist and I fly United weekly. Or I can put it on my Built card and I'll get 2x. Even if I get 2x, or if I'm lucky enough to do it on rent day where I'll get 4x, right, which is capped,
right,
I'll end up getting 16, 17,000 points.
right,
Looked at my wife and I said, you know what? We haven't done a credit card for you in a while. And we checked with her, and she had a 175,000 point offer waiting for her for an Amex Platinum because she already holds a gold, and it was a 10K spend. And I'm like, we're 80% of the way there. We're going to spend this money anyway. She's got
right.
great credit, and we're in the Amex platform, which will be a debate that we do in the future. But that's another way that we just got 175,000 points. So I think those are examples of when it makes sense and when you can balance the cash versus credit situation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and we've had this topic before. We've had conversations with, I mean, we've done seminars where we talked about this, where, it's before you spend any money on your credit card, you got to look at your checking account or your savings account, right? It's like, do you have the cash for it, right? I mean, it's, and it goes back to that, that age old debate of like debit versus credit, right? Like credit cards are not good, they're evil, but that's a whole different topic. I mean, and it comes back to like, hey, first of all, can you afford it, right? Do you have that money in your checking savings account? And if so, go ahead, put it on your credit card, get the rewards while you're at it, and then at least you're safe to pay off that debt. And I think that's the big thing, right? I mean, we're seeing that a lot where, we've seen it by talking to other people, where we've talked to different contractors where they are literally putting things on their card, and they are waiting for the client to pay them. So sometimes they take the hit of an interest. It's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, is it really smart to do that, right? So I mean, going back to your contractor, it was really cool that they were able to waive that, because I've never heard that. If my contractors were able to do that, I think I would have opened up like 3 new credit cards, like right off the bat. Like I only opened up 1 or 2 credit cards, but I would have easily opened up so many more credit cards and just manipulated the whole point system over there.
So that takes me to a myth that I know a little bit about, and I think we've talked about this, but I want your take on it. You know, is having multiple credit cards terrible? Like, will it wreck your credit score? So, like, if I have 10 credit cards, which I do, um, will that wreck my credit score? I can tell you my credit score is fine,
Mhm.
but how do you navigate? We have both said we just said we opened up credit cards for home renovations. But we're also pretty savvy when it comes to budgeting and credit cards. What advice can we give, or how can we myth bust for anybody listening who's just now getting into this system of navigating, the credit card number myths and the impact to credit score?
Sure. I mean that's going to be a whole different segment, right? We had to talk about. I mean, on a high level pitch over here, I will say it is a myth, right? The more credit cards, the worse your credit score. No, absolutely not. Your credit score is only bad if you're missing your payments, right? And if you're only paying the minimum, and then now you're accruing interest on it. That's when your credit score goes down, right? When you can't pay it. Now, it doesn't matter if you have 1 credit card or 10 credit cards, but as long as you're paying it off on time, your credit score is going to, your debt to income ratio, that debt ratio as a whole, is, if you're able to keep it down to like 0, or sorry, not debt ratio, utilization, right? If that's below like 30%, right? And you're able to pay that off, credit card companies are going to be like, okay, this is a good person, they're responsible, they're able to pay off their credit card, we should reward them with a higher credit score. Obviously we've seen that with different people where they're not paying off their credit cards on time, or they're paying the minimum and they've taken a hit with their credit score, where we've seen people who are in the 500s, which I mean, the max you can get, I believe, is what, an 850 on a credit score right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 850, I mean, anything above 760, you're an excellent, right? So I feel like it's a myth. It doesn't matter how many credit cards you have. It's more about, it's not the number of credit cards you have, it's the quality of you paying it off, right? Quantity is whatever at this point. Quality, you got to pay off the credit card. That's what helps your credit score. And especially the way the country is built, you need debt to build a credit score.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the other thing I wanted to jump in on, which is a tip and a secret that we usually reserve for followers, but you can find it pretty much anywhere on social. Let's tell them, or I'll have you tell them about the grocery store hack.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite. I wish I could patent pen this, because this would be great for us. But it's one of those things where, backstory over here. I've been doing this for a while, right? I got all these different credit cards where, one time I went to the grocery store because my mom was like, hey, I need you to get a gift card for her coworker. I was like, fine, whatever, go get it, right? And I used my Chase Freedom card at that time. And it was like that, it's the classic Chase Freedom, where it was a category where I was like, all right, I get 5% back on cash. I go to the grocery store and I get an Amazon gift card, $100 Amazon gift card. And I swipe my card. My mom gives me the money. I go and I look at my credit statement at the end of the month, and it says like, and I'm from New Jersey, so in Chicago, the big grocery chain is Jewel Osco. In Jersey, it's ShopRite. I look at it. It's like credit card statement, ShopRite, $100, 5x, and I was like, what did I spend $100 exactly on? It took me a while to recognize that. And I was like, oh, I bought a gift card. And I was like, oh, it doesn't say anything about a gift card. It just says, where did you purchase X, Y, and Z? So fast forward now, 2026, I have a house. I am buying all this renovation stuff. I paid the contractor for their labor, and I went and got the materials. Most of my stuff came from Home Depot or Lowe's. I go to Jewel, and now I'm in Chicago. I go to Jewel, and I just start getting like $5,000 gift cards for Home Depot. And at first, the person was like, "What kind of fraud are you committing?" And I'm like, "No, it's a hack. You don't know about it. We'll like, here's my number. Call me anytime. We'll talk in great detail about this." Yeah, I was at Jewel. I was like, "Here, if you would like to be a client, here's our Instagram. Feel free to follow us too." And I go there, I get like $6,000 worth of Home Depot gift cards on the credit card statement for uh, my Amex Gold. You get 4% 4 times the points for that. And the bonus rewards is like you got to spend $6,000 in 3 months. Within the first week I got that card, I went and got $6,000 in Home Depot gift cards. And it just says, at first it declined me because they thought it was fraud. And I had to call Amex, like, "No, it's me. I promise." Um, Go there, get the cards, come back. I pay all the stuff that I need from Home Depot. Stuff is delivered to my house. End of the month, I get a credit card statement. It says $6,000 spent at Jewel Osco, 4 times the points. So not only did I get the 125,000 bonus points at that time, but I got an additional 24,000 points on top of that. So I point hacked over here, where it's like I was able to maximize and get like almost 150,000 points from one simple purchase of getting gift cards from a grocery store and using that at a different place to get the materials that I needed.
And I think that's huge, right? Like I have done that a couple times. I told you on the phone last week. I just went to Home Depot and I did exactly the same thing. And it's not really a hack because the way the Amex language and terms and conditions is written is that you can do grocery store transactions up to $25,000 on the Amex Gold. And so whether you spend that on tomatoes or gift cards, it's still going through and it's you spending the money. And but the more important point is, can you pay it off? Luckily, we both can. But can you make sure you have the budget or you've pre-budgeted for that type of transaction? The other thing that you can also do, which I'll toss this into here, but then no more no more free tips, is you can do that, but also if Rakuten, sign up for Rakuten. This is literally free points. Rakuten, Rove Miles, things like Rove Miles is a little bit more complicated, but Rakuten, even if you don't have an Amex or a Built card where you can get the points, so instead of them sending you a check at the end of every quarter, you you can get points for that, and so you can link your Amex card to Rakuten or your Built card to Rakuten, and that same Lowe's purchase, they sometimes have 10x on. So if
Yeah.
you're Built card where you get 2x on every purchase, you're getting 12x all of a sudden. And
Mhm.
so that's something that I think everybody should sign up for. Even if you don't have one of those credit cards, they will give you money back at the end of every quarter in form of a cash sent to your house. Um, it's an easy way to get money back, really. Like you're making the same purchase, you're going to the same website. It's the same as people who are really loyal to shopping through United Mileage X portals and other types of portals. I usually don't shop through credit card portals, but Rakuten is one that I definitely use because you can accumulate a ton of points on Rakuten. But yeah, so I know that's this episode we've talked home renovations, budgeting, credit cards. We've done a lot on this episode. Um, I'll 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 turn it over to you to kind of close out the episode, tell people to give us a follow and a little bit more about Start Smart Finance, and then I will give a quick teaser to the next episode, which is going to be really interesting.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you for joining us today. I mean, we're out talking about home renovations, and obviously, this is not a topic that resonates with everybody. But if it is, or if somebody who's going through a home renovation, feel free to give us a follow, but also send our video to them, and just let them know like this is what two dads who are big in finance, what did in their personal lives, right? So, with Start Smart, what we talk about a lot of times, it's personal finance, right? It's not we're not big investors. We're not telling you what to put your money in. We're very much two dads who are doing personal finance stuff, right? It's like the stuff that we never learned in college or in our upbringing, and then we're trying to just like teach it to everybody else because that's what we're passionate about. We're passionate about finance, also passionate about like just teaching, right? Because there's so much information out there, especially in the world of Instagram and TikTok. There's a lot of information out there, which is, you know, not catered to the general public. And you'll see that with some of the other topics that we're going to talk about in the future. And you know, it's just a big thing where for us, it was our passion project where we're just like, you know, we learned this on our own. When we learned that, like, we're first generation Americans, so our parents didn't have the opportunity to learn this, and so we're able to pick this up and we're able to pass this on to the next generation. So that's our passion. We wanted to make sure that we're teaching this information to everybody because there is a lot out there, but not everyone is aware of it.
Completely agree. Thank you everybody for joining us. As Danny mentioned, give us a follow on Start Smart at Start Smart Finance on Instagram. Give us a like, give us a follow, keep an eye out for our content. And next week, so I'm excited about this topic because this is something I just dived deep into the realm of, is renting versus buying. And then should you get a built card if you're renting or putting your mortgage on to earn points? That is a whole topic in and of itself around built and when to use built. I think they're a game-changing market, but I know me and you have had debates on the built 2.0 and you know the topic of renting versus owning in today's economy. So stay tuned, everybody. That'll be next week, and stay safe and stay warm.
Take care, everyone.